Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
Picture this, a 39-year-old man, completely paralyzed from the neck down for 6 years. He looks down at a pen resting on a table.
Right.
He doesn't twitch a single muscle in his arm, but a soft robotic glove worn over his hand slowly reaches out, grips the pen, and writes his name.
It's just wild to even visualize.
It really is. Then he writes the words, "Thank you," and finally the date. And, this isn't a scene from some sci-fi movie. It's November 2024, and the software update is literally happening inside a human skull.
Yeah, we are officially moving neurotechnology out of those carefully controlled academic lab experiments and straight into real-world commercial availability.
Exactly. Welcome to a custom deep dive tailored just for you. Today, we are exploring a massive leap in human capability, the world's first commercial invasive brain-computer interface, or BCI.
And this is such a huge milestone.
It is. And our guide for this journey is a single, incredibly detailed piece of reporting. It's an MIT Technology Review article titled "China's Breakthrough, the World's First Commercial Brain-Computer Implant."
It's a fantastic piece, very comprehensive.
Yeah. So our mission today is to understand exactly how this breakthrough happened. But more importantly, we're going to focus specifically on how China's brain chip design fundamentally differs from highly publicized competitors like, Neuralink, and what that means for the future of medical tech.
Right, because there's a huge divergence in how these countries are approaching the very architecture of these devices.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to fully grasp the technology, I think we have to start with the human element.
Oh, absolutely. The human element grounds everything here. I mean, we are talking about Dong Hu sitting in the courtyard of his house in China's Henan province.
Yeah.
So 6 years earlier, a severe car accident left him with a catastrophic spinal cord injury. For over half a decade, he retained just some slight residual movement in his upper arms, but he had zero ability to use his fingers.
Which means relying entirely on other people for the most basic human needs.
Right, exactly.
And we get so caught up in the incredibly technical nature of brain-computer interfaces, like the bandwidth, the microprocessors, the wireless data streams. But Dong's motivation is just so profoundly grounded.
It really is.
He literally just wants to be able to dress himself and feed himself so he doesn't have to burden his aging parents.
Yeah, it's a staggering loss of autonomy. And regaining it required a highly orchestrated intervention. So in November 2024, Dong became one of the first people in China to undergo brain surgery to receive a commercial BCI.
Wow.
Specifically, it's a coin-sized implant called NEO. And it was developed by a Shanghai-based startup called Neuralink Technology, working alongside researchers at Tsinghua University.
The intervention itself sounds remarkably fast for brain surgery, honestly. Just over an hour and a half to place the NEO sensors inside his head.
Yeah, very quick for this kind of procedure.
But the hardware is only half the battle, right? I mean, putting a chip in someone's head doesn't magically make their hand move.
Oh, right. Definitely not.
The sensors have to collect his brain signals, send them to a computer, and then that computer has to act as a real-time translator, turning Dong's neural activity into actual physical commands for that soft robotic glove he wears.
And that translation process is where the heavy lifting really happens. I mean, think about what a brain signal actually is.
It's just a mess of electricity.
Basically, yeah. It's a chaotic storm of electrical impulses. The computer algorithm has to learn to isolate the specific electrical pattern that corresponds to Dong's intention to, say, close my hand.
Which has to be incredibly difficult to isolate.
Oh, totally. That requires intense, repetitive training. Dong committed to 2.5-hour training sessions every single day.
So he's sitting there actively thinking about closing his hand, and the computer is watching his brainwaves, trying to match that specific thought pattern to the mechanical action of the glove closing his fingers.
Yeah.
He's essentially teaching the AI how to read his specific mind.
Exactly. And at the same time, he's teaching his own brain. This taps into the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections.
Right, because of the injury.
Yeah. When you suffer a spinal cord injury, the physical bridge between the brain and the hand is broken. The neurons in the brain that used to control the hand basically just go dormant.
They stop firing because the signal has nowhere to go.
Precisely. By using the BCI and the robotic glove, Dong is forcing his brain to fire those dormant neurons again.
Yeah, and the timeline of his progress just blew me away. He started rehabilitation about a week after the surgery.
Right.
And by day 9 of his training, he managed to grab a ball with his right hand without even wearing the robotic glove.
Which is just incredible.
And the neural pathways were literally waking up and reconnecting in just over a week.
Yeah. Seeing that kind of motor recovery that rapidly is a testament to the fact that the brain wants to heal. It just needs the right interface to bridge that broken connection.
But, seeing this success in the real world forces a massive question. We've all heard the immense hype around Western BCI companies.
Oh, sure.
Elon Musk's Neuralink has dominated the headlines for years with promises of telepathy and advanced cursor control. So if this technology is changing lives right now today, why did this relatively unknown device, NEO, beat those highly publicized competitors to the commercial market?
Well, the answer to that brings us directly to the central focus of our deep dive today. The divergence in the timeline really comes down to a fundamental divergence in anatomical design.
Okay, let's get into that.
DCI researcher Evan Ash Singh breaks this down perfectly in the research. It all hinges on where the microchip actually sits inside the human head.
Right. So let's look at the anatomy. Neuralink's device, the N1 chip, takes a very aggressive approach.
Very much so.
It uses extremely fine microscopic threads that physically penetrate the cortex. It is diving deep into the gray matter of the brain to get as close to the firing neurons as physically possible.
Yeah, it's piercing the tissue. NEO, on the other hand, takes an entirely different approach.
Yeah.
Its 8-sensor array doesn't pierce the brain tissue at all. Instead, it is placed on top of the duramater.
The duramater, that's the thick, leathery protective membrane that surrounds the brain itself.
Exactly.
It's essentially the heavy-duty shrink wrap, keeping the delicate gray matter safe inside the skull. So NEO is sitting on that protective layer, collecting signals from the outside.
Right.
I want to make sure I'm totally tracking the physics of this. It's like the difference between pressing a highly sensitive stethoscope against the outside wall of a house to hear the conversation inside.
Versus literally drilling a hole through the wall to plant a microphone directly inside the living room. Yes, that's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And the trade-off there is exactly what you'd expect, right? Listening through the wall means the audio is muffled. You lose the high frequencies. In neuroscience terms, that means you lose the resolution of individual neuron spikes. The penetrating chip, the microphone in the living room, can pick up the exact conversation of a single neuron.
Okay.
The surface-level chip, the stethoscope on the outside wall, is just picking up the general roar of the crowd from thousands of neurons firing at once.
But wait, if it's picking up a muffled roar, how on earth does the robotic glove know what to do?
That's the challenge.
Because the skull and that thick membrane have to be blocking a lot of the electrical chatter. If you want the best possible control over a robotic hand, wouldn't you demand the clearest, highest resolution signal possible?
Well, that's where the software has to compensate for the hardware.
Oh, I see.
The raw signal coming off the duramater is indeed muddy. But modern machine learning algorithms have become incredibly sophisticated at pattern recognition.
So the AI steps up.
Exactly. The AI acts like an audio enhancer, sifting through the muffled noise to find the specific macroscopic wave pattern that means close hand. It doesn't need to hear the individual neuron, it just needs to recognize the general shape of the crowd's roar.
Okay, so the AI cleans up the signal, but there has to be a really compelling reason to choose the muddy signal in the first place. Why choose to stay on the outside of the brain if you know you're compromising the data?
Because placing a foreign object directly into brain tissue carries severe medical consequences.
Makes sense.
When you penetrate the cortex with a device like Neuralink's, you are risking immediate hemorrhage during the surgery. But the larger issue is the long-term biological reaction.
The body's immune system.
Right. The human brain's immune system immediately recognizes those penetrating threads as foreign invaders.
So the body's going to fight back.
Relentlessly. It triggers a process called glial scarring. Specialized cells in the brain called astrocytes rush to the site of the injury and begin building a dense wall of scar tissue around the sensors.
Trying to isolate them from the healthy tissue.
Exactly.
So the brain is actively trying to scab over the microchip to protect itself.
And as that scar tissue builds up over months and years, it physically pushes the neurons away from the electrodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the signal degrades. To use your analogy again, the microphone in the living room gets wrapped in a thick, soundproof blanket.
That's fascinating.
By choosing to sit on the duramater, NEO dramatically mitigates these risks. It doesn't trigger that severe glial scarring because it isn't piercing the delicate tissue.
Right.
It's considered a relatively less invasive design, meaning the device might remain functional and safe for decades, even if the initial signal isn't quite as high definition.
So you trade ultimate precision for long-term safety and durability.
Precisely.
That makes total sense from a clinical standpoint. But avoiding those brain scars isn't just a medical victory. According to the research, this specific design choice is the primary reason this device bypassed the multi-year regulatory nightmare that holds up penetrating chips in other parts of the world.
Oh, absolutely. Safety profiles dictate regulatory speed. Because NEO is inherently less invasive and presents significantly lower biological risks, it faced a very different pathway for approval. Combine that safer design with a massive coordinated push from the Chinese government, and the development timeline just shrinks dramatically.
The sheer volume of trials they ran is staggering.
It really is.
The Chinese government explicitly listed BCIs in its latest 5-year plan as a key industry for future tech competitiveness. With that state-level backing, Neuralink conducted 36 clinical trials for the NEO device.
36.
And 32 of those trials were compressed into the space of just a few months in early 2025.
Unprecedented speed.
Yeah. By March, they had commercial approval.
Now compare that velocity to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The FDA approval process for deeply invasive cortex-penetrating implants is famously rigorous.
Very slow.
It can take several years of slow-rolling safety phases just to prove the device won't cause long-term harm, precisely because they have to monitor the effects of that glial scarring over an extended period.
Right. And while the regulatory frameworks are vastly different, Myson's son, she's an information scientist at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, she makes a really compelling point about another massive variable.
Yes, her insights are crucial here.
She studies technology policy, and she highlights the speed of innovation isn't just about government backing or FDA caution. It's about how the actual human patients feel about having a microchip put in their head.
Right, she's pointing to the cultural readiness of the population.
Exactly. Sun notes that Chinese patients, especially those dealing with severe paralysis like Dong, show genuine enthusiasm for this technology. They actively welcome the intervention.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the US and Western Europe, testing highly invasive technology on human bodies often triggers what she terms the ick factor.
The ick factor, yeah.
It's a visceral psychological resistance to merging man and machine.
Which is a hurdle that engineers often overlook. Cultural acceptance is just as critical to a timeline as the algorithms or the surgical robotics.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I want you, listening right now, to really pause and put yourself in that position.
It's a tough thought experiment.
Imagine you or someone you deeply love is facing a catastrophic loss of mobility. On one hand, you have a technology that promises a return of basic autonomy, the ability to feed yourself, to hold a pen.
Right.
On the other hand, it requires drilling into your skull and placing a piece of manufactured hardware permanently against your brain. Would you feel the ick factor? Would the idea of being a literal cyborg cause you to hesitate?
Many people would.
It's so easy to judge the progress from the outside, but when it's your own body on the operating table, that psychological boundary is profound.
It really is. And if a society collectively feels a high ick factor, the entire innovation ecosystem slows down.
Right.
Recruiting patients for clinical trials becomes a multi-year struggle.
Yeah.
Venture capital funding is hesitant because consumer adoption seems risky.
Makes sense.
Regulatory bodies act with extreme caution because public opinion is wary of the ethics. But, and this is key, if the culture generally views the technology simply as a practical medical tool, everything accelerates. Patients volunteer, funding flows, and regulators feel confident moving quickly.
So it's the combination of the less invasive durameter design, the massive government backing, and the cultural enthusiasm that created the perfect formula to get NEO to market first.
Exactly.
But looking at all of this, it is incredibly tempting to frame the entire situation as a classic US-China tech race.
Oh, always.
We love a space race narrative, right? Neuralink versus NEO, the West versus the East. Who crosses the finish line first and takes the gold medal?
What's fascinating here is what a race implies a single agreed-upon finish line. But as neuroscientist Nick Ramsey points out in the research, it's hard to even define where the endpoint is for brain-computer interfaces.
Right.
These two countries aren't running the same race. They are running on entirely different tracks with entirely different definitions of victory.
Myson's son's insights really solidify this too. She argues that the US and China have fundamentally opposed visions for what success looks like in neurotechnology.
Yes.
The US approach, embodied by companies like Neuralink, is heavily focused on achieving state-of-the-art performance. It's about pushing the absolute leading edge of what is scientifically possible.
It's the moonshot mentality.
Yeah.
The goal is to drill deep into the cortex, capture the absolute highest resolution signal possible, and enable a paralyzed person to do something extraordinary, like playing a complex video game or operating computer software at the speed of thought.
Right.
The definition of winning is being exceptional.
But China's vision is entirely different. It's not focused on the single most mind-blowing laboratory demonstration. It's focused on accessibility and societal scale.
Totally different metric for success.
The goal is to build a safe, durable, relatively simple device that avoids the major surgical risks, manufacture it rapidly, and get it into thousands of regional hospitals as quickly as possible. Sun states this perfectly, she says. Being exceptional and being accessible are two diametrically opposed definitions of winning.
And the proof of that accessibility mindset is what happened immediately after NEO received commercial approval.
Oh, this is huge.
Within days, China began integrating the NEO implant directly into its national health insurance system. They assigned it a unique medical billing code.
Assigning a billing code completely changes the paradigm.
It does.
It means this isn't a prototype or a luxury item for the ultra-wealthy. It means the state apparatus is planning for eligible patients across the country to have a portion of this implant paid for.
Yeah, it proves the ultimate goal is mass consumer access. This isn't a trophy meant to sit in a university lab. It is a prescribed treatment for the masses.
And while the philosophies and the regulatory approaches differ wildly, the borders of the science itself are actually surprisingly permeable.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Despite the broader geopolitical tensions you see in the news, collaboration in neurotechnology is actually happening.
Right. An American company called Axoft, based out of Cambridge, Massachusetts, has recently teamed up with a Chinese company and a major hospital in Shanghai.
Wow.
They're currently testing their own BCI on 4 patients in China and planning to expand the trials.
And the development pipeline isn't slowing down for a second. We're already seeing the next generation of these accessible devices gearing up.
Oh, absolutely.
There is another device in the works called Bino 1. It's also a durameter device, choosing to stay on the outside of the brain tissue to avoid scarring. And it's developed by the Chinese Institute for Brain Research.
Right.
It's specifically targeting patients with spinal cord injuries, or ALS, and based on the current regulatory momentum, it could get the green light for domestic approval as early as 2028.
The momentum is undeniable. With the centralized push from the government's 5-year plan and a healthcare system actively creating billing codes for the hardware, we are going to see a rapid, nationwide scaling of these accessible BCI models over the next half-decade.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with Donghu's incredible recovery in that courtyard, witnessing how neuroplasticity and machine learning can turn the chaotic electrical noise of the brain into fluid physical movement in a matter of days.
It really is a miracle of modern science.
And then we unpacked the critical anatomical divergence between a surface-level durameter device like NEO and a penetrating device like Neuralink. You know, the stethoscope listening through the wall versus the microphone planted in the living room.
And we explored the complex web of factors that dictate the speed of innovation, like how avoiding the brain's natural immune response bypasses regulatory nightmares, how cultural readiness and the ick factor accelerate or stall clinical trials, and how diametrically opposed definitions of winning, exceptional versus accessible, are shaping the global landscape of medical technology.
So what does this all mean? Why does the anatomical difference between a cortex chip and a durameter chip happening halfway across the world matter to you?
It's a great question.
Because the medical technology that you or your parents or your children might inevitably rely on in the next 20 years is being fundamentally shaped by these exact design choices happening right now.
Exactly.
The devices that ultimately reach your local hospital won't necessarily be the ones with the most advanced sci-fi features. They'll be the ones that successfully navigate the complex realities of biological safety, mass manufacturability, and cultural acceptance.
Which leaves us with a profound paradigm shift to consider. We used to think that true mind-machine integration required deeply invasive, high-risk surgery.
Right.
But if an implant doesn't even need to physically penetrate the brain tissue to allow a paralyzed man to regain control of his hands, where exactly is the line?
That's the big question.
How long until non-invasive or semi-invasive brain-computer interfaces become as routine and commercially accessible as getting a pacemaker, or even LASIK eye surgery?
Wow.
And if that cultural ick factor fades away entirely as these procedures become normalized, what capabilities of the human mind will we be willing to unlock next?
It's a staggering thought. At the beginning of this deep dive, we talked about the clear, comforting boundary between the machine over there and our biology over here. That boundary isn't just blurring, it's being intentionally redesigned from the inside out. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning those boundaries, keep learning, and stay curious.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.